allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going to do a roll call. I'll start over here with Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Mark Tesoro. I work with Human and Veteran Services. I am here for the Homeless Impact Program.
My name is Jim Nickel, and I'm a member of the Public Safety Committee. Also a fire commissioner. That's not the role I'm in here.
Susie Bahan.
Mark Benora, I'm a lieutenant with the Lee County Sheriff's Office, West District.
Sean, First Baptist Church.
Allie Kritzer.
Rich Kritzer, Beach Baptist Church.
Denise Armstrong, Office Administrator for Chapel by the Sea.
Ken Ehlers, Town Council.
Ron Thomas, Town Council. Town Council to Safety Committee, not Town Council. Oh, I'm having a long day.
Heidi Youngworth, Safety Committee.
Agua, Administrative Officer.
Any public comment? Oh, all right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming today to the Safety Committee's second half of our meeting to talk to the local churches and with the Homeless Impact Group. It's our goal today to have an educational meeting that you can share some of the things that you are doing on the island so that we have the knowledge and the answers when people ask us questions regarding transient people or things that are going on the island. And I really just want this to be an open forum that maybe we learn, ask questions. If there's things that come up that maybe need to be addressed, things that we have heard on, maybe there's solutions you already have, and it's our goal to educate the public and educate visitors if things are going on around the island, and work with then Town Council with Jenny and the PIO to get it out and open forum, and really about it. So why don't we start with Pastor Sean from the church, and you can tell us a little bit about currently the churches are doing on the island, and not just as for their regarding transient, but the overview of how the umbrella, how it all works together. I think that's a good solution.
All the churches belong to what we call a ministerial association. Sort of know what everybody's doing. Know anything about churches, but that doesn't always work. They're very autonomous, and they like the same pen, so to speak. We try our best and get to work, and we try to do things together. We do our best when it's community-based together, because that common denominator seems to help us a lot. So you'll see represented here Chapel by the Sea and Beach Baptist, and that's the only two churches that are doing any community. The other ones will join as a concerted effort, but it's going to be led by one of us too. We don't do any programs that are transient. All of our programs would be in place if there was zero transient on the island. Transient's another weird word because every snowbird's transient. So we use the term houseless. They're not displaced. They're not homeless. They're a lady that lives in a tent has a home. Tent behind CVS. I think the common consensus is that someone who lives in a non-brick and mortar home is a problem because they don't pay taxes or whatever that is. They don't fit the quote norm you and I might sit here. I don't even know where you live, so I can't say that. But there is a normal mentality that we're basing this off of that doesn't really even been defined. That's why I say we don't target any program to one specific. Target programs to children. At the beach school, we do a lot of community outreach for them. Raise funds. We just supplied them with wipes and Clorox wipes and baby wipes. So you need paid in every community event, the Shrimp Festival. But then we sponsor an Easter service, which is around, that is sort of around a religious activity, but it's a community-based event down at the pier. We try to make sure that we have a presence so that people know that we are an outlet for community need. That's our. Any foods that we put out, we do a grocery. Baptist Chapel offers meals 3 days a week. We offer groceries on Thursday. We have 2 hot meals a week. But once again, our sign out front is, here's the meals. Get a meal, come get a meal. Everybody. Denise, did you make a list for everybody to have, or is that?
I had sent it, but I think in the
got
crossing we
printed.
didn't. But I will follow up with a PDF so that the council has a copy. This is just a list of each of the churches that participate in the association and all of the activities. I think what we want to emphasize today is that it's not just about homeless. We do, yes, those people who don't have a house, but we also have individuals who work on the beach or have families and they need assistance with rent or food stamps. They just need some canned goods. They may have a home and they have access to a stove and all that, and they just need the elements to put a meal together. So we've helped out vacationers that get stranded. So it's really, we're trying to take the focus off. It's not only about the people who are unhoused. We hold a community Thanksgiving and Christmas meal the day before the holidays, and anybody is welcome. There are people who are seniors who are lonely and just want to come to have company. So we also just want to make the community aware, really we're open to all people who just may need a friend, need assistance. But we do offer a wide range. Of course, a lot of it is focused on those that are unhoused, but we also make ourselves available, like to vacationers who've gotten stranded, kids who come for spring break and something happens, we're here and they need a meal and all that kind of stuff. So the all-encompassing that the churches try to provide.
Yeah. And I think to play off of that, just to account, we provide groceries around 1,000 mouths a month. A mouth is, just a human. Of that, there are 12 registered people who receive those meals that have a P.O. box, either provided by us or Chapel, which means they may live on a boat. We don't really know, but we just know those people are what you would normal houseless person. There's 12 of them. That has been the average over the past 18 months. We would still be feeding regular old folks, I guess, that
Make it.
slow times, lean times, whatever. We have a lot of single moms on this island. If you live here or work here, we have a lot of kids that are at school. I think the registered enrollment's 90 kids now.
It went up from, it started at 77 the last time.
And they are, I think that percentage is almost 70% are considered need-based children. They were all on a Christmas list. They were all on, almost 70% of those kids. Christmas list had 150 kids on it this year, 172 kids on it. Those are all directly touched by the island some way. They may not all live on the island proper, but they're represented by a worker, a family member, could be a grandparent, but they're local. That is why we exist. Period. Those types of programs, those types of needs. I'm not even saying we're making a dent in the need either. I'm doing groceries once a week. Chapel's doing breakfast and sack lunches 3 times a week. We have showers open, you know, that's for beach goers and things like that, and just people shower. Those are available a couple times a week. We're not making a dent in the needs that people have. The way, am I providing enough food, or is Chapel providing enough food, or the churches at large providing enough food for the folks that are hungry around here? This program needs to be expanded to the point that every single day somebody can find food, if they, whether that be through a food stamp assistance program, which, you know, we offer those communities for people to come in and plug those in and up, or it's just I've reached out to the Tallahassee Homeless Coalition as far as there are programs available. They do consider homeless programs that we would consider just community needs-based programs, assistance-wise, whether it's money. It all comes down to, I'd provide groceries 5 days a week for people who need groceries. It's funding the hard part for us. All independently funded. There's no tax monies that, other than FDA food. We do have some FDA food, but
Could you touch on maybe, I'm glad that you brought up that your programs aren't based on a specific background, transient, whatever it may be. What, if there is, or isn't, I'm not sure, but is there a protocol if someone was to come in and identify themselves as a person without a home? Do you have a protocol, or what would be your steps to getting them the help that they may ask for? Is it with the outreach? Is it with the homeless impact? How would they go about doing that?
so we don't really identify them as that. We can't provide assistance if you don't have an address. It's just an agreement we made with the FDA. So we prove that you live here by, if you come to Beach Baptist on a Thursday and you ask for groceries, you have to, first day you get food no matter what. First day you walk in, you get food. Fill out a postcard and we mail it to you. Bounces back and we have a conversation with you. You don't really have an address. I got to prove that you live here. So let's get you a P.O. box. That's step one. Let's get you, are you transient? Are you houseless? They say yes. And the next question is, what do you need? What can I do for you? Because we cannot assume that we're the great white hope. But if you decided, or that you live in a house or a tent behind CVS, that you automatically need to move up in your life. Because as Lieutenant Mark will tell you, a lot of percentage of those guys back there and girls back there chose to live there because that's where they want to live. Had many a conversation with people who they think I feel sorry for them. And like, don't feel sorry for me. I got it a lot better off than you do. And yes, there's a whole line of why I think that's wrong with that, but I can't assume they need help. I have to ask them, what help do you need? If their response is, I need to get a job. Okay, so that means you need to get cleaned up. I need to get you into a motel for a few days, because you can get a job in 2 days. It does not take long. So our programs are
more specific as to, do you have any way that you refer them to county programs that they could step into, or do you just, as a church, try to help them directly?
Oh no, we can do all of it. So we're plugged into 411. We're plugged into, what's the other one? 211. We have, so if the person says, oh, I have an alcohol problem. Want help? Yes. You're going to get help that day, and we're going to process you up the programs. We are going to get you a ride to Park Royal, or we're going to have Lieutenant Mark and the group help us. We do this all the time. We triage off island for assistance and things like that. We have worked with Lee County Homeless Coalition as far as what do you offer. Now, we'll tell you, as far as Lee County's coalition is concerned, we're a very small bean in this. 12 folks on this island not going to get a lot of attention. Not, per capita, we're nothing. They're dealing with hundreds. We're with 12.
What you're saying is we have 12 houseless people that
Interact with us.
stay here on the island,
They may not even stay here. They receive services.
receive services from you. Okay. Do we know exactly how many houseless, as you call them, people are on the island?
sleep here,
Yeah, like,
probably 50% of that 12,
Okay.
6.
they're here all the time. I mean, you kind of see the normal ones.
We know their names, we know
Right.
their stories, absolutely did. Sheriff Marks talked to every single one of them, I'm guaranteeing, you know. And
So out
I-
of those, you ask, like, say you ask them all the questions, you need help, this or that, and they say no, they're happy with how they're living their life. And there's nothing else you can, I mean, if they don't want help, obviously, you can't give them anything.
Exactly.
So they tell you, no, I'm happy with being behind the dumpster or wherever they are. I don't mean to be that way, but
No, I understand.
that's,
Cannot force
You
people
can't
to
force
take service.
them, right.
It's part of being in this country,
right.
right? So I mean, it's
So
like,
they're happy with how their
Sometimes.
life is sometimes, and sometimes, yeah.
And you and I consider and agree, because I will agree with you that the decisions don't make any sense to me.
Right.
Any more than a family of 10 riding a bicycle on the sidewalk. Doesn't make any sense to me. Perfectly capable of doing it, legally able to do it, and if they're happy doing it, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
So we are here for those who are like, I need help. Where can I go? That is what we exist for. And so what I hope you hear this, that I want to take you to the next level that you want to go to. I don't care who you are. Whatever that next level is. If you just lost your job as a single mom and you just need us to help you find somebody to take care of your kids while you look for a job, that's an offer for us. That's a service. You need to sleep somewhere. We'll get you a place to sleep while you're cleaned up and applying for a job, if that's your next step. If you need some cash for your utility bill, those are all programs that we can tap you into to help you get it for the month. You know, we pay your utility bill every month. That's not the point. That's not the point. This is the next step in your life that you need. What hill did you hit that you're having trouble climbing? We're going to jump alongside you and help you do it. At that point, I don't really care, you know, what your demographic, what sort of demographic you fit into. I'm going to just walk alongside you and help you. And if I can get you out of the tent because you don't want to be in a tent, we're going to do it. Yeah, for a lot of people, we give them tents. We did that for a long time because they're like, I'd be very happy for the next week if I could just sleep in the tent with the group. I've got a plan, but don't have the tent. Tent. Your next step, then that's your next step. For me to assume, well, that would be stupid for you to sleep in a tent, let me get you a motel. You're not going to do well in a motel. I got motel people pissed off. Go ahead,
I'm going to
jump in there.
expand a little bit. Chapel's program is known as God's Table, is run through Community Cooperative. So we don't have the same food restrictions that you do with the FDA. We don't have a full food pantry. If somebody comes with a family and they need some canned goods and some soups and like that and some cereal, we can provide that. Most of the pantry is for the making of the hot breakfast and then the bag lunches that they receive. Okay, the way things work now is a little different because of the pandemic, but just to give you pre-pandemic, when people come to the to chapel for the program, they just weren't getting food in the showers. They rotated out. We had family health centers, the McGregor Clinic, the Pre-Mobile Clinic, Solace Care, Salvation Army caseworkers, and the Veterans Administration would use a rep. So yes, when somebody comes, I'd say half of our people really are just looking for a meal and take a shower once a couple times a week, and then they go off and do their things. And then there are people that have a problem with alcohol and drugs, and we try, you can't force them, but have these people show up, and if they're willing, they'll sit down and talk with them and then try to find them a place that can help. We offer bus passes, like people arrive here and then here maybe a year and they decide they want to go back with their families. St. Vincent de Paul's and God's Table program will give them a one-way bus ticket back to wherever they want to go. So it's about the food, but it's also, we do try to provide extra services when they're open. Now, because of the pandemic, we're still serving and the food and the bag lunches we're not allowing them to come into the building to eat, and then we decide to set up if they need help with their food stamps or a phone or things like that. We still have showers, it's a separate entrance, so we'll make that available in clothing exchange. When somebody does come up, it's not just about the food, we do try to give them options if they're willing. Otherwise, try to be passionate and do what you can, and then move along or come back the next day. Hot breakfast.
I think you guys said to me, you do have the breakdown of like the categories of maybe the people who are coming by. I don't know if you classify in a different way where it's maybe someone who's lost their job and they're trying to get work and you know that they're a short term or whatever it is. And then you've got maybe a family that's just on hard times right now and you've got that percentage. I don't know if you break it down to that type of thing or is everybody, and then is there I guess I'm just going to get to then there are the houseless maybe that they're coming in, you know, they don't have a home, they don't want help, but they're just services.
For chapel, the program usually, they will do a report that says, you know, in the month of December, we've fed whole month a total of 800 people. So they count every day, they just add it up, and that's how many people came through, that's how many mouths that they fed that month. They don't really distinguish, and they'll give a stat that they helped, you know, 10 people with SNAP, and they helped, gave out X amount of dollars for rent assistance or utility or bus passes and things like that. They don't necessarily keep at least at this satellite, because Community Cooperative is really run off of MLK Boulevard, you know, in Fort Myers. That's their main office. They have a commissary there. They have a cafe
We
there.
keep all those statistics.
They keep all those
Okay.
statistics there, and they probably deal with more family oriented. Now, occasionally we would have somebody came up with 3 children, they needed a couple, had a job, part also had a job, mother was trying to watch the children, but they just needed a place to stay for a couple of days until they could make it. So you really get a mix of that at chapel, but most of what we deal with here at the satellite for God's Table would be those that are unhoused.
Or, as far as classifying, no, but the programs are designed. If you need utility assistance, one-time shot. So you can't come back for your utilities
Every month.
Every month,
every
no,
month.
yeah.
So that's how we kind of know what your thing is. If you're just there for food, you can get food all you want.
Yeah.
If that's the only service you're receiving, then we sort of know. Yeah, we sort of know that you're just houseless. We've also now built a relationship with you. I do this many times a week. That way you know what else we can offer you as far as services go, and we get to know you. So it could be just anybody off the street can come eat a hot meal with us on Wednesday, grab groceries on Thursday, be back for breakfast on Sunday. You're a church member now. Now you know what we offer, and you also know what we can provide for you. I also know you, and that's the better point. Is that I don't want the here's your utility bill for next month. I don't ever want to see you again. I want the relationships with the people so that I know who lives in our community. I know who, regardless of where you live in our community, I know who you are. I want to know what kind of person you are. I want to know if I should like you or not. And that only happens with the relationship. Throw stuff at people and hope they go away. Yeah, you're going to have some bad ones come in just to grab the stuff, and on their way out, they're going to cause some chaos. I like the fact of the programs that all of us offer, or that we offer as a group, are built around the relationship, around some tracking, around some communication with the individual. They're going to live here. I've been in way too many meetings with way too many different municipalities that have tried to reinvent the wheel to eradicate houselessness. Do that by building houses. Eradicate houselessness, build some houses. That's it. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody has the resources or the framework to do that. So they live here. What are we going to do about it? And how are we going to respond? So, I mean, if we wanted to segue into that, you know, because we're not stupid either. I don't know that we want to worry about the percentage of those 12 that's going to cause the problem. We're all impacted when everything hit the fan. We all made huge changes to our programs, and one of the big things that we did, so as a group, we haven't even released this, Denise, to the group. We're going to do this tomorrow. So we'll go back to the spreadsheet. Randy, if you can go back to the spreadsheet. This is just an interface.
Can kick down on incident.
So what we started back when librarian was murdered was that we were going to start communicating amongst the churches at least anytime there was an issue that appeared. It looked like this for a long, long time, and it's just columns of the offender name over there, and normally happens at our house too, no problem. When it happened, what the incident was, and then what we did about it, and then we sort of record where it happened and who responded. Typically, if you'll see on there, trespass usually happens. We have a zero tolerance on, and Chapel has the same way. It's a zero tolerance for violence for sure, and just huge disruption and bad behavior. I can't serve you, but I don't care. Once again, I don't care if you're houseless or not. There's a couple on here who live in houses that aren't allowed to come back to our church because you can be an idiot no matter where you live. We found that out. Mark can show you the same kind of statistics. No. So we listed that. All the churches had away. And the reason we did that was because if I was offering a service and use it, Tanya, and Tanya caused a problem, I know, so does Denise, that Denise is the next person that's going to have a problem with Tanya. Just known fact. You push anyone away from where they're receiving service, they're going to the next place. Which is why you always hear, well, if we don't help them, they're going to be in your backyard digging in your trash. That's a real thing. If food's not readily available, people will eat. They're going to eat wherever the food's at. So we know that they're going to get pushed down the line. So we did this so that now Denise can log in. She go, oh, just yesterday, she had to be trespassed. Or she gets a flag that I did it just now. Tanya's probably going to her place in about 10 minutes. Or she's going to go up 2 blocks to the Lutheran Church or St. Peter's or wherever it is, to be on the watch. We also did this for escalation. So in the event of Adam, if we had had this, because we all talked about it, we would have seen an escalation in behavior that was getting to the point that someone needed to do something. We don't know what it was. We would have still kind of had our hands tied, but Mark also has access to this, and I think he looks at this whenever he just to. It's not like we're not pushing stuff on the mark. It's just there for you to look at. We would have seen some escalation happening because we all had trouble with Adam the week before it happened. I had trouble with that 10 minutes prior to it happening. If we reported faster a little bit, maybe some people would have known what was going on. That was created. We also released at the same time fmbincident@gmail.com. Something we want public safety to when we do our webpage. Something that is created so that the community at large send an email that says, hey, something about this guy. The homeowner who they're not doing anything wrong. I mean, that's still Mark's job. Just, this guy's always on the bench. You know him. And what we've done before is gone out and talked to him. I know you. And we would respond back. Yes, this is so-and-so. Been here X amount of years. No, this guy's brand new. Thanks for update. The guy named Two Feathers. We got that from, hey, y'all know who this guy is. Brand new. Now we can reach out. We reached out to Mark. Hey, do you know Two Feather? Yeah, he's new. Just saw him. The thing. So the collaboration starts to happen.
I'm not to interrupt, but I'm glad you brought up the bench part because I was going to ask that question. What do you say, or maybe Mark, you can opine on this? What do you say to the people out there that I think most people agree? Someone's hungry, you give them food, and I think everybody also agrees that you're allowed to do what you want. If you choose to live in a tent, you're allowed to do that. Some people will say, I'm also allowed to use the bench. I live here as well, but if I can't use the bench because someone's sleeping on it, where does that fine line get drawn between someone sleeping on the bench every single night, we all see it, or someone that's just wanting to use the bench to get on the trolley but can't? So what would you say, or how do you deal with that situation?
I'd have to go back to Mark, because there's a difference between sitting and sleeping. I think one of them is an infraction.
Slaughtering, yeah.
Right, I mean, it is a public service. You can go and deputies will come down and typically get a complaint. Oh, I've got a guy, and it's not even a common complaint, to be honest with you. Mostly when our deputies encounter it, they'll be driving by and they'll see somebody that they know, one of the people that are typically or commonly down here on the beach, and we rarely have problems having them move because the deputies get up and move. So it's not, I could say from what I've seen, it's not a typical complaint that,
I think they get, what Dan's probably talking about is, we hear about them sleeping on the benches on the beach.
On the
Normally,
sand?
like
Well,
out
on
on the
Estero,
sand.
they put the dividers so
They
they
put the
can't,
dividers
and
up so
that
you can't.
solved, that did help solve some of the
Land, yeah.
problems. They put, where you get 1, 2, 3, so there's a little bump, they can't lay flat. So that,
It made it,
yes, exactly. So on Estero, it's not as much of an issue. They may be sitting there for long periods of time, but they're not laying down. That kind of eliminated a little bit.
I would say that there's probably 3 that I get contacted most about, 3 benches on Estero Boulevard,
Really?
that on a daily basis, there's someone, may not be laying down, but they're obviously sleeping. And maybe
probably 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven is one, well, both
Library.
2 7-Elevens. There's the one right off of Voorhees that there's someone there almost every day. Next to the Hooters up there, there's someone there almost every single day. And then the other 7-Eleven up by Palermo, there's someone there almost every single day. And of all the complaints that I get, it's those 3 locations that people have an issue. They want to get for the trolley, but they can't, or they don't feel safe. And I guess that's what I was trying to bring up is can they go to this fmbincident.com and let you know there, and maybe someone can go out and reach out to them, or whether it's the sheriff's office. Because as I said, people that live here have the same rights. And where does that fine line get drawn between who has more rights or who doesn't? Or, not that I'm saying you kick people out or whatever, but people have the right to feel safe.
But let me walk you through the scenario, because this just happened, and we're walking it through with the person all the way. So it hit FMB, it happened to bypass because they knew me directly, so they just called me, hey, it's Scotty. So they called me and they're like, do you know anything, what's going on with Scotty? I'm like, yes, Scotty's got some problems with his meds, Scotty's got some issues here, he just got kicked out of his apartment. I knew the backstory, and they're like, well, he's sitting on the bench and he hasn't moved, and I just went and he has urinated and defecated all over himself, and it's really bad, and we tried to get him some food, and he doesn't want the food. Like, yes. He has a medical advocate that we are in constant contact with weekly about what to do with Scotty, because we've taken him to the hospital 3 times. He's checked himself back out, because as soon as they get him basically conscious again, he's the hospital. It's mobile. He's just a person who, when he goes to that bench, that's where he sleeps. Clean up, and the more the days fall, the worse he gets. Now he has to have his medical advocate intervene for him, based from Lee County, and they raise him back up to a level that he becomes conscious, and then he refuses service again. That's where they've reached the end of their rope. We can't do anything about that anymore. Scotty's been Baker acted. Scotty's been ambulance transported, local transported. We shower him when he needs it. His what? Been to a rehab facility. And this is all one guy. This is the amount of resources we've placed into one guy. Get him to the point where he just goes, thanks. That's his next step. That's as far as he'll let us take him. Going right back to the bench. There's nothing I can do about it.
It has
I
money.
can say something if that's okay. I appreciate your website and all that, but you have something in place in the county with our Connect list. I don't know if you have and the coordinated entry line. So if you do identify somebody, you're going to get there faster than we get there. Trust me. I have 7 outreach workers under me, Matt Wallace being one of them, and a whole bunch of other folks that we get out here. But that coordinated entry line, it's 239-533-7996. It's on the card that you have. It provides us an opportunity where we have a database, people are de-identified, and we can follow along where their course of treatment is, where they are, what services we provided them, so that people who are engaged, I think Denise is part of, with Community Cooperative as well, you can engage that system and see where you last left off with them, A. You de-identify, may necessarily be. C, you get to determine what their last location was, what their services are provided. We use that as a conduit to try to provide our services. So we are very, very well aware of the 12 people, trust me, of the 12 people that are on the island. So as you know, we've been partnering with it. Mark is also very aware of, we work regularly with Mark in terms of identifying folks and making sure that they're squared away. So I don't want you to feel like, this is the outpost here. We are very much aware of the folks that are here. It's just that there's a whole process from HUD that we have to follow as well, but I won't get into that. But that service, that conduit, that coordinated entry system, there used to be a process in place that was called No Wrong Door, and every group would have services and would have meals on certain days and this and that, providing tents and this kind of, without having a centralized way to identify folks and keep track of them, it makes it extraordinarily hard to follow up with them, keep track of what their services are, and it provides us an opportunity to make sure that can lock into them the services that are available to them. For example, folks, county-wise, for me, difference, because the state makes it a difference, between somebody that's literally homeless on the street versus somebody who is ready to be evicted, staying with friends, couch surfing from couch to couch. So there's 2 different programs that we have available for prevention of being homeless and literally homeless. And we're talking literal homeless now, like literally on the street. So it gets a little hairy from our end, but having that by having that focal identification, we can make sure that people are not getting referred incorrectly to a program that they're not available for or not qualified for, and provide those folks a clean, clear admission to programs that they qualify for. And they don't have to relive over and over again the trauma of what they've had to go through. And a lot of it is mental health, as we mentioned. A lot of it is alcohol and substance abuse. A lot of it is, it's a multifaceted, it's not as easy as just saying, go. There's a lot of trauma that's there, frankly, that you have to work through. And I completely agree with Pastor Sean. Like, if you do not gain trust, might as well not even go to the front door. You have to have some kind of relationship. Yes, sir.
What availability of beds are they for those who are in need? Like, say, last night, and the cold weather hits, they're out there on the street and they're trying to find some place to huddle down at to get warm. Is there beds available in Lee County for those that they can be transported to?
Well, here's the thing. So I have a presentation I was going to give, but it's running late on time, so I'll come back maybe another time. But so there are multiple different venues for shelter. One is with the Salvation Army over at what they refer to as the Empowerment Center, usually called Triage. They have staffing challenges, like everybody else has staffing challenges. They will, on certain nights, when we get activated, and I'll talk, Mark and I are familiar with this, we work with the Emergency Operations Center. for severe weather outreach. That could be hurricanes, that could be cold weather, and cold weather for us is not obviously cold north, but when it gets down below 40, the Emergency Operations Center triggers our activation so that we go out with outreach and go to locations to provide folks transport to those shelters. They will flex for us on certain nights, certain occasions, when there's an emergency going. They also have the ability, because we've hooked into this phone line that we have manned 24/7, they sign a release that says that we can push out messages to them. So most of them do have a phone. We push out text messages saying that if you need services, it's to be below 40 degrees in this time and this time. If you're looking for a place to shelter, please go to X, Y, and Z location. You will be met by an outreach worker who will transport you to and will provide a bus pass for them. For example, over at the transfer station near the beach here. But we get those outreach activities going, cold weather and hurricane.
Hey, let me add on this real quick, because there is a different mentality in Lee County than there is on the beach. That's true. And this, I worked with Matt before. They are very proactive, just like that, to folks who they have qualified as houseless. If we were to do that, we would become an attraction site. Absolutely. We started targeting, hey, do you need help, to us. We don't target, we respond. The need, that's why we're a need-based. Now, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying provide them the number so we can identify them. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Totally.
Yeah. So, but that way we can, that's not, and that's all confidential information. Like, for example, the sheriff wouldn't have information, wouldn't have access to our information because if they're trying to locate somebody, that's not provided to them. Not what this database is used for. Have to use their own database, which they will not have access to our database. Where so we also do diversions where people, if they have family members, if they have friends that live in Sarasota, live in another location, exit them out of this service, we will provide them transport. If they can, we'll reach out to family members and do that kind of case management to try to identify support services where that is frankly the best money we'll ever spend. We'll spend $200 in a second trying to house somebody, but if they have an opportunity to be a family member or friend that they haven't talked to in 10 years, guess what? This might be the time to talk to that family member or friend if you're going to be out in the cold. So that's an option too, but our process takes a little while, and if they can get through the service much quicker and get some safety and prevention, that's what we aim for. Another questions?
We know about all the services and how to get a hold of everything, but my question was, is there beds available, or are y'all overwhelmed with so many that there is none available to place somebody? Because we've been in that situation.
Same with us, where they just have no, there's
See,
just
that's
no
what
more.
I want this committee to know,
I'm not going to sugarcoat
we are
it.
at our peak.
Trust me, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They are at max capacity. We check every day. Salvation Army is the one who runs both the triage and the Homeless Resource Day Center, which I'm not sure if you're aware of the Homeless Resource Day Center. That's located in Edison. That provides shelter, showers, laundry system, laundry services, counseling, all kinds of. Long story short, Salvation Army, like I said, has been down. It's kind of like the hospital system. You could only have staffed bed capacity. So they are at staffed bed capacity like the hospital system. You could only have the beds that you can staff. So if they have a small amount of individuals that they have working at shelter at the moment, guess what? That's going to keep maybe a 70 or close to 80 bed shelter down to maybe 40 beds. And that's going to be the issue. That's the issue. But like I said, on severe weather, we do ask them to flex and break out cots and do those kinds of things. But it's been trust me, all of my outreach folks, it's unbelievably frustrating from our end as well.
I think from a public safety council discussion, what we want y'all to hear is we already know we've got to help. We already know we're going to help, no matter who they are. We want to focus on those who are not here for the help. They're here to cause trouble. That's what these things are in place for. We have no ambiguity as far as anonymity. TMI still doesn't release their information as far as who they helped specifically. Ours is wide open, and everybody who comes to us for services is told that. We are not here to hide. This isn't your real name, we're going to find out. This isn't your real address, we're going to find out. Mark and I pass pictures back and forth. We have a folder on there when we trespass someone, we post that picture in that folder so that Denise knows exactly what they look like, or anybody else who logs in there knows exactly what they look like. Because if the name changes, once they hit the trespass record, that's a real name, because I trust that Mark's made sure that they're who they say they are. So that's what I want to make sure we're very clear on, is that we are extremely focused on the community safety portion of it, because we already are going to help. The rest of it, they have to, and they're great at doing what they do as far as providing the extra services. I push people towards those services. In the same way, if you need a bus ticket, that's the first thing I'm going to give you. If you've got a place to go, I'm going to help you get there.
I mean, we've done a great job of covering, I think, what programs are available from the county and from the town, but a lot of questions I get asked are, you never seem to talk about what is the plan or what programs are in place to transition those that want to transition. Do we have programs out there that teach people skills? What triggers that? Is there a, not to use the word cutoff, but is there a time where you've helped person A, B, or C for a year and a half, and they just keep coming back for the same thing? Is there any protocols in place that say, now, you know, maybe we need to teach you how to bag groceries, or maybe we need to teach you how to mow lawns, or maybe we need to teach you to do this? That doesn't seem to get enough coverage in some of the people that have come to me. We do a very great job of talking about what's available and how to get it and who to speak to, but for people that do want to move up or receive help or move to the next step, they still reach out to you, or what is the protocol, or what is the cutoff, or whatever word I'm trying to look for?
For us, yes, there are skill-based programs that we have references to, referrals to. It's just another program that's offered. No, there's never a cutoff. Once again, you may get help today, and then you're okay for a month, and then something else happened in your life, and you need help again. You know, maybe you've got, your husband is sick a cyclical, whatever, need. I can't track that. No one can track that. And I can't, I know lots of people who've lost 10 jobs in the past 6 months. I mean, there's something wrong with you, agree, but as long as you're getting another one, get another one. I'll help you in between the two, no matter what that is. No, I can never look at a person and go, you've received enough assistance, now your brain needs to kick in and work. It's possible we have a mental health problem that we're dealing with. In that case, it's not until you recognize that you need help. Then I'm going to kick you into another program that has mental health availability for you. But it has to be generated from the person. You cut it off, you trigger something in people. It's fight or flight. And most of the time it's fight. And someone else is going to reap the repercussions of that.
And the reason I bring it up is basically to be devil's advocate.
Sure, I understand.
But, you know, you've all heard it. I'm sure everyone at this table has heard it. And I'm sure you've heard the stories of people that have left a certain establishment on the beach and have gone to drink at a buck of beer somewhere as they're smoking a cigarette there, and then they're back doing it again and again and again. And I think that's the thing where people relate to when they see people sleeping on the benches, and they...
I have to also tell you that, not to interrupt you, so I'm sorry.
No,
But, so the folks that we work with would be Goodwill. They do a whole job training circuit. Also, United Way also does a lot of job training opportunities. I can tell you, with the situation we're in right now, we see a lot of folks that are the working homeless. It's just so unbelievably expensive to have a rental unit for folks that have a normal position, that have a normal job. So as we were saying earlier, it's a question of having affordable housing. Affordable housing is in tremendous demand, which is half the battle. So even if you are working, you could still be homeless, even if your job skills are up there.
People that Mark helped us out with, he was probably in his late 20s, but had a civil and a very good school, and it was just, he was at odds with his family, and was just trying to get himself together. I mean, it's a lot of it. It's not even they don't have the skills. It's just some extenuating circumstance. What he said, multifaceted, is a good term to use here. It's not just like I don't want to work. And some of them are. Some of them are just some of the people we took off private property a couple months ago with his assistance. They didn't want to go anywhere. We offered them everything. We offered them housing and this. They just moved from one piece of private property and to another, and they're just okay living in a tent, fishing.
Most people, yeah, some people just move on, go from this coast to the other coast to, it's just that's the way they choose to live.
But safety-wise, our communication, talking.
Yeah.
Just last week, we had one individual. He came up from Collier County and showed up, and our beach deputies are phenomenal. They are on top of every person that's here, and they know, okay, I know him. He's okay. This is typically what he'll do. But they are very quick to identify the ones that are out to make trouble. And this one particular guy came up, immediately in trouble, was giving some of our deputies at the Publix some hassle. The next morning, I went down there. He was out there harassing people, and he just continued. I sent Sean his picture. I said, I think we had arrested him actually before I got you his name.
Second one, yeah.
Felt like he was going to end up going down there, and it escalated to a point where he actually violated the law. The deputies observed it, and New Year's Eve at least for the weekend. And I don't think he's made it back down to the beach. But they're quick to identify.
That's, I guess, what, really quick, going back just to the public safety portion. How do you want the public to communicate with people if they do have a trespasser, or if they see something? If they're on a bench, that's to me a little different than if someone's sleeping in the backyard. I mean, it's not an emergency. It means, what do they call? Who do they communicate? Do they?
They do call the sheriff's office. Because we
Do
don't.
911?
That's all you can,
The 911 number?
That's fine. I mean,
Okay.
if that's what they're comfortable with, that's fine.
Okay, that's the other
They
thing I want
could
to
call
know.
the non-emergency number, but
Okay.
if they
I
feel like it's
honestly
urgent.
provide the folks these cards. These cards have the number of us on it. It also has the number for the mobile crisis response team if they're having a mental health emergency. So you could identify those folks as well. Will it come out as
Didn't we have a
fast?
stack of your stuff for the community outreach center?
Sorry.
there's more down at there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch here.
Or do you already have it?
I work in the community outreach centers all around the county. The number one homeless resource that we refer individuals to is the Salvation Army. The most common one. But hearing that it's at capacity, I know we've heard that for a little bit.
I mean, especially with COVID now going on, they closed down recently because of an outbreak there, so they had a lockdown on that. So there's a number of issues. They can't bring any kind of medication or what they call medication or whatever you want to call it, access to it. So sometimes they have issues while they're there. They're not big fans. Folks are not big fans of going to shelter sometimes because they see it as a restriction on their comfort. They're used to having a smoke at 2 a.m. Guess what? It's like being in your house. You're going to have some rules. You're not going to be able to smoke at 2 a.m. You can smoke there, but you have to ask permission outside. So people are not very excited about the opportunity to go to shelter because there's some restrictions in terms of what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And it's hard when, although I think it's done with the best of intentions, if brings out, let's say they see a group of folks and they bring out pizzas, or they made lasagnas and they're going to bring out lasagnas. It's really hard to convince somebody to go to one of these shelters that are doing peanut butter and jelly when they can get lasagna and pizzas delivered on the corner. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and not to challenge those efforts, but it makes it hard to convince somebody, this might be a way. And while they're at shelter, they are engaged with getting themselves rehoused and getting into that process.
And I'd like to see, I think our next step going forward as far as public safety is
That's what I'd like to
we
talk
get really involved in the neighborhood watch portion. safety standpoints. And if it's people on a bench that's always on the bench, someone needs to know them. And I'm committing that if it's the same person on that bench all the time, I want to know them. I mean, as a relationship. I want to report them. Put them in the database, but I want to know them. I want to go meet them. I want to go talk to them. I want to ask them, what's next? And then I want to report back to you or to a group that says, touch base, this is what this person has deemed they're going to do. And then Mark and I, or Mark and y'all can have the conversation, okay, they can't do that. Or, yep, they can. Now what are we going to do? And it's, from that perspective, nothing. And I think if we can start either getting you to the point to where you don't have to respond to certain calls because we've done everything we possibly can do and we've pushed it to the law part, and there's no break, and no one's doing anything wrong, you're now free from that. You're getting the same. What we found out on this database, I'll just tell you real quick. We had the same guy send us an email every week because he needed homeless people. His perspective was, we're this type of person, you're a bum, you're whatever, I don't want you around, you're messing with my property value. So he would send hate mail. Yes. He was a very affluent person in the community. And that's the kind of things we see. I'd be interested to know on your data that people are coming to you, is it the same person calling you every single time? Or a small group that's calling you because they have an axe to grind? It's not something that I don't think any of us can. I mean,
And I can tell you that it's not.
good, okay.
It's not, and I think it's important that we recognize that public safety is not just about whether or not the people that we're talking are safe or not safe.
Right.
We may know that they're safe and they're harmless, but if I'm family A coming from Cincinnati, Ohio, I don't know that. I don't know that I can walk up to that bench
And I
and feel safe.
and I'm scared.
And,
Right.
and that's a part of the public safety, I think, that needs to be addressed, and whether it's through the home, or through the, the neighborhood watch, or whatever, we can work with the hot teams and things like that, whatever we can put in place to build that comfort that, there may never be comfort there, but I think I'm articulating myself.
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
It's not, we all know that these people are maybe not, they're just there to sleep, and they're
Statistically,
not.
if you look at it, they're more likely to be a victim of a crime than to be committing a crime, overall.
Sure.
The public perception is these
Exactly.
people might be dangerous.
Right.
And they don't know if they're dangerous or not. And so you see them moving about the community or living on the bench, and you're fearful because you're not, is it dangerous? I'm down on his luck.
Or if it's dark and it's late,
You're gonna
your
think
business,
you're gonna think
Susie had that
he could
happen,
be
you know,
dangerous.
you just don't know, and it's dark
I
and
love
late,
the
then you
idea.
need to call 911 and I
There-
just want to
there's
be
a
able to
good-
get that.
I often wonder, from the perspective, or from the perception point, when you walk up to a bench, how did I deem that you're now, and you're a big guy, it was dark, I gotta deem that why do I not feel safe on this bench because it's you? Is it because you're asleep? No, I do think about those things. I'm like, what can is it because you've got 10 backpacks next to you? What is it that's making you feel unsafe? Or you're really not unsafe. Do you have a bent towards a certain type of person, right? Just call it what it is. If I see a particular race maybe sitting on a bench, am I that person that goes, I don't feel safe now? Can you do anything about that? You know what I mean? There's certain things we just can't do anything about. We can do all of our efforts, and we can make sure we're diligent in every single aspect that is in our responsibility. And I think this is one, the community outreach is one, the neighborhood watch is one, getting everybody on the same page is one, get the trolley drivers on the same page. No, that guy's here every week. His name is. He's down on his luck. Yeah, I see him all over the place. Get everybody talking about people.
That's very helpful, I think, for residents. The 12 or so that are around. And I think I love the idea of going to watch me talk about who we're dealing with here. Dangerous and who's not, and who you should be worried not. I think it would be helpful for them. For us, we're going to see them all as dangerous. We're going to get those calls from tourists. calls, residents that are concerned. But I think the more we understand who they are, I'm going to see Scotty the other day. Work down there. I mean, he used to wash windows, and he was kind of productive then. He seemed,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Good. What if it became an island watch instead of a neighborhood watch? What if our entire island started talking to one another like we liked each other? And what if there were enough residents on the island who knew everybody who was houseless, and we actually became good humans to one another, that they wouldn't have to call Dan? There would be a community person somewhere near, it would be enough residents somewhere near that's like got their hand next to Scotty, we'll just use his name, talking to Scotty. You're not going around the bench because you think they smell bad. You happen to know who they are. I'm asking you to jump in, but you've become part of the watch. You've become part of the, not policing, but you've become part of the community so much that you know that guy's not going anywhere.
And I can tell you, there's several people that do that. Speaking of Scotty, both my wife and I have both offered, and as we went back to the beginning, some people just don't want help.
No, I'm talking about making our tourists more comfortable. I'm talking, if our residents were out in the island and they were already part of the communication, they had joined they paid more attention to public safety. Would love to see, once we get the public safety website rolling, how many people actually look at it. No, we know statistically 90% of our people are going to sit at home and send an email to get involved. That's just the fact. That 10% that's left, man, for 1,000 people. 1,000 people actually got involved in our community.
And again, this is me talking from a county perspective. I know for a fact for us, there's a lot of people that don't want to be identified. A lot of people who want to stay under the radar. And there's a lot of people who are concerned about being on a website. And I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to rail anything. I'm just saying that there's people who are not necessarily looking to be brought attention to themselves. Leave it at that.
And I think those folks will move along pretty fast around here. Yeah. Once we start actually interacting.
I think the first solution, maybe, and we could throw this out to the community watch, talk about the event that we're talking about having, and having we help bring you in. Next stage is to identify links and email addresses on this community website that goes back to you. If someone does want to get involved and say, then they can attack it that way and get involved. If someone doesn't want to be like in your face involved, but they can still do an email and do it that way. We give different levels of how people want to get involved. I think the biggest thing is education, letting people know there are 12, because when you tell people that, the first thing they say is, right? And you might have some flux in and out, but we are mainstays here. I think very few people know that. It's baby steps. We start and maybe get more feedback from people. I'd like to know this, or how can we do this? Or I feel weird calling the police on a 911 because of this small incident. Is there a better way I can handle it? That kind of stuff. And start laying those types of questions and things out. Maybe the stuff that comes up, you can shoot the email to me, and then I can put it together for Jenny at the PIO, so she's not getting inundated with all these things and she'll kill me. We can go from there, start that just a template, and then keep building on it.
I think it's something that needs to be said, and we've been around for 16 years in one place, and we have seen the displaced people in numbers, and then we've seen them shrink, and they've shrunk, and all of this shrinking is because of what we have on our law enforcement on this beach and our beach patrol. If it wasn't for them, we would have a whole lot more than what you think we even have now. And that's because of their policing them. I've watched them, and they know the officers by their first name, you know. But it has, we see transit people come in from the East Coast, coming in to see what's going on, you know, la-di-la-di-da. They find out, well, no, I'm not welcome here, and they're gone. Because we don't want that type of people here that are just passing through, going to cause trouble. That's why our officers know these people. And I say ours because I'm talking about the beach, okay? But we have it's like, all of a sudden, this comes up every 3 or 4 years. Somebody wants to try to do something to solve the problem. It exists. And the answer is, like our gentleman over here, they're doing the operation, what they're doing. I mean, I was in Washington D.C. 4 weeks ago, and Mark started falling, and there was tents being set up all the way down the Smithsonian's, and they were laying out in the street where the subway, where the air was coming out through, setting their tents on them. I mean, and all of this. And then the next morning, when we went back down to the Memorial Park, they were all gone. It was cleaned up. I mean, they cleaned up after themselves. Homeless is everywhere, whether it's at Fort Myers Beach with 7,000 or 7,100, or if there's 300,000 or 1 million. They're all going to be there. And if we want to do something in our area for 12 people, I mean, let's just face it, if there's 12 there that are homeless, then it's going to cost several $1 million to solve that problem. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to build a place for them to come to. And then the churches, we get people that says, well, if you wasn't doing this, or if you wasn't doing that, they may not be here. Well, we have a commission in our church of what to do. We're going to help people when they come by. If we didn't, just imagine what we've been turned loose on the businesses downtown. If we weren't doing what we were doing, we would be at their doorsteps. So we're sitting here going around and around, but the fact remains that with our locality, our size town, our amount of people, our police force, we have an excellent avenue that we're working with. Okay? And they're doing a fabulous job on the beach. Some of them get arrested. What was it? 38, 40 times, But, yeah, I mean, it happens. But they're there after them. And the people of Fort Myers Beach needs to know that.
If y'all could raise $5,000 a month, I will create a homeless shelter in one of my buildings, and we'll house them all in one place, feed them 3 meals a day, anybody that needs it, and the first part only has to go to one place. I think that's a really good idea.
I'm not going to say anything on that.
Well,
So bring out the money.
to that point, some of the issue I think Dan's getting to is that you have these people out there and you have your visitors coming and all, but they're, not that we wanted to encourage them to pitch a tent on the middle of the street. We don't want that. But there is, like, when it's cold and it's rainy, there's no place for them to really kind of congregate so that they're not on the benches or at somebody's doorway that they think they're not home or things like that. So that we've talked about that before. There's really not a place like during the day. We don't want them to spend the night there, that there's nowhere in the town, there's somewhere that they can be encouraged for them to go there during the day or something like that, that the officers know and they can chat with them and that kind of thing. I think that's part of the issue. The benches are out there, they need a place to sit. There's really, because what happens when they go from one place, we push them away. No, we don't want you here, you go here. No, well, they go there. Well, we don't want you. The churches can't really do it all. Like, since the pandemic, I've been at the church basically by myself until recently. So, after our program's done, I'm there by myself. I'm like an everyday person, you see people, I know most of them, but if it's a new person and I'm there by myself, I have to say, do I open the door? Do I talk through the door? Do I open it? What kind of help can I give them? So, we're trying our best to put everything out there and be available, but what can the town also do to help us facilitate maybe that they don't lay on the benches or they don't go to somebody's house when they think it's empty when it's raining? Because the front part of our church, when I leave and it's raining, I see them all lined up there and they know they're not supposed to be on the property after the program is over. So you don't have something else like what Sean is posing, is there a place that we can kind of say, hey, this is a place, and then people, you know, the officers know they're there, we know that they're there, and if there's an issue, they could call Sean or something, they could go down, or, because that's, the bunch part is not gonna be solved if they keep being, like, well, you say move from the bench, well, they'll wait for you to go, they'll go down to this one, or they'll go to the back of a porch of someone this way. So, I know where you're trying, what you're trying to
Well, I
address,
think
but.
we're kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth here,
I was gonna
because
say the same thing.
we're saying now that there's several programs out there available for anybody that wants it, and the
Well-
people are choosing not to take it. By throwing $5,000 more a month at something, is that going to guarantee that the same people that don't want the services now are gonna take advantage of those services?
No, we just solved the problem of they're not sitting on the bench anymore. They're not sitting on the bench because they have nowhere else.
But there's no guarantee that you could do that. I don't think there's any way you can sit here and say, if the town was to give $5,000 a month and subsidize what people think is a problem, there's no guarantees that someone's still not gonna sit on that bench, because they have the opportunities now to take advantage of programs that they're choosing not to take care of. So
Okay,
I don't
I don't
think
wanna-
by throwing more money at it is going to
I
solve
agree with
the
that,
issue.
but I don't, as far as what Mark has to offer, I'm also gonna, I will, what my dad's been trying to get out, and it's not coming out very well, is those programs are hard to get to.
It is, and my point was gonna be very much along with that. Like, for example, my questions would be, what is the goal? Is the goal to get somebody to, have some place to go to during the day that's they're not participating on benches and doing those? That was what we did in downtown with the Homeless Resource Day Center. That's a place that they can go to during the day to wash their clothes, do those kinds of things, charge their phone, you know, get classes, do job training things. Or if you're looking to get somebody off the street in a transient situation where it's temporary housing, is it temporary that you're talking about? Or are we talking long-term? Like, there's a million questions that are associated with it. So all I ask is that you let us know what you're thinking about. But
I'm just gonna say this is a little broader than the safety committee, we're getting a little off track here, kids.
Oh, no, we're solving safety
yeah.
problems, Don.
Well, you know, well, I'm not gonna say what I was thinking, but, all I'm gonna say is, I think let's start with what we talked about, what safety can actually get done and has the, power to do, which would be to work together with you all, get these tools out and the communication out to our community. Well, this is what I was gonna say, land is the biggest priority right now on the island. No one's gonna say, oh yeah, I'll give that to you, but that's a whole nother thing.
the land.
Yeah.
The land.
But let's start with I'd like to just start with what we can do. That goes into a whole nother ball of wax. And, again, educate our public. I think that's so huge. And, I learned a lot from a lot of this. And I think, as you stated beforehand, I think, let's call it the transient that we see on the benches and that problem is a lot smaller than what people think it is on the island. And due to the per capita, if you go to any other major city, Chicago, wherever, they're sleeping everywhere. I know that. So, and then we can come up with maybe another meeting in 6 months and let's see how things went. And I'll get some dates going and, you know, get a plan going.
I think we need to maybe work with the Outreach Center and Sean, and we need to get something for a neighborhood watch program. I
Right.
think that would help.
Yep.
In different
And
groups.
Tiffany, yep.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of crime prevention runs, and someone from West District comes and
Tiffany.
Tiffany
Yep,
Wood.
I've already talked to her, so we're
So
good, yes.
She knows the area. She tells people things that are relevant to practitioner district. They know their area.
We've reached out to her and she has agreed to do a community event where we could get as many neighborhoods in, so she's not spending every week.
Is she automatically gonna use the outreach center?
For the most part.
I mean, it's for the event, so she's already contacted.
Yeah, so
We haven't set up the exact event yet. She and I just talked about it a month ago and she said, let's get through the holidays and then we'll go.
right now, I don't know where we are with the community outreach center on Fort Myers. Obviously, that building has been demolished, but there will be one going back up. Right now, as the coordinator for Fort Myers Beach, operating out of, I work extremely close with, I know those homeless people amount of time that I've been working there, honestly, I don't get asked about overall safety. When I worked in the outreach center that was on Fort Myers Beach, a lot of people felt safe. DSO presence. Vacationers came in, and wow, this is so great. We don't have this at home in our. So they made specific comments.
Well, I will get with Tiffany, and I can work with you as well. If you have a card, I'll get it before you leave. And then we'll get something going. She said she's going to talk to her boss and get some other ideas, and we would set.
I'll see her this afternoon. Talk to her just to get an update.
I also encourage the residents of Fort Myers Beach to come back and watch this meeting. Because I learned a lot today that I did not know. In my head, because I didn't know all the programs that you offered and how you helped them, you were enabling all of them. That changed my entire outlook today because I'm like, wow. And I think a lot of people think that's what you're doing.
And that's what
And I
was
hate to
trying
say
get
that,
at. Yeah.
and I was one of them. But there's a lot of people that think that's what you do to them. You enable them and
You're bringing them here,
Exactly.
well, and in actuality, you said verbatim, that's not the case is. And I think that's, again, education and communication and letting people know you do offer and how you help and how we as a community can help as well.
Maybe make a note, each bench needs to become a community. I'm serious. There needs to be somebody who's watching each bench. It becomes their deal. Somebody who lives near it, it's part of their community. That bench is part of their community. They ought to know.
Who is that out there? And a regular, or is that somebody different? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about that after. All right,
anything
is
else?
there anything else? No?
Nope,
Yes?
that's it.
Wait, I need my glasses, I'm sorry. Thought I could do it. Comment? Okay.
She's our liaison. Did y'all know that?
Yes, well, she listened.
Okay,
No public, anybody else? Other than that, I appreciate everyone coming today. And hopefully we can continue this line of communication and keep the ball rolling and do some improvements in education. Make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Anyone second? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.